Welcome to another episode of Hiring and Empowering Solutions. My name is Molly McGrath, and I am the founder of this revolutionary office altering podcast. Today, we're going to do something really fun and unique. I am actually going to be interviewed on my podcast by Chelsea Williams. I had interviewed Chelsea a few weeks ago, and then she said, I love this conversation. I really would love to interview you. And we said, why don't I do something fun and interview on my podcast? So I'm excited for today's podcast and for you to get something a little unique where I actually will be interviewed by a previous guest on my own podcast. So have a listen. We'd love to hear your comments and feedback on this.
Hey everyone, Chelsea Williams. I'm back. It's been a while. This video is going to be bringing in business experts. So in any area of business, it's not all about the numbers. We don't just talk about money. I'm actually an undercover business guru too. But it's not all about the numbers. And today we're going to talk about hiring, empowering, and how to encourage leadership, which I personally believe can make or break a business. So this stuff is so important. And with us today is Molly McGrath. She has her own company where they really focus on this and they try to shed some light and understanding on the subject. So Molly, thank you so much for giving us your time today.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about your company and your guys' mission. I love your guys' mission and purpose. So please share some of that with our people.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been in business since 2008, and my company is called Hiring and Empowering, and we created it, 12 years ago, what have you, based on a need that many attorneys were sharing that they weren't sure how to get their employees to step up and lead, how to get them out of the mindset of showing up every day, putting their head down, doing their work, and collecting their paycheck. How do I create what we've coined as a term, an entrepreneur in an entrepreneur's world? So our whole mission is how to bridge the gap between the entrepreneur mindset of owning a business and having everything come at you every single day and feeling what we hear from attorneys and entrepreneurs as a whole, feeling like you're so alone and nobody has your back. And the second I heard that statement, I said, I've got to figure this out. We have to come up with a solution to really empower employees to step out of that employee mindset and learn what it means to protect your attorney's time, confidence, calendar, and back. So that's our whole mission, is to get, because we found that the employees and the entrepreneur really have the same goals and want the same thing. They just don't, they're not speaking the same language, and they don't know how to get on the bridge and get behind each other's goals and while being able to serve the client.
Yes. Yeah. And, you bring up a good point that, everybody wants what's best. And I think that kind of starts with leadership.
Yes, absolutely.
And it has to come from the top. So, you and I have had conversations about what it means to be a boss versus a leader. So let's talk about that a little bit. How do you guys work with people and get them to the point of really encouraging leadership from a be the example, be the leader, step up and do it, and then also give your employees and your team that freedom and knowledge to show leadership as well?
My approach is very simple. I believe if you can really come at it from an angle that you're dealing with humans versus employees. So all humans want time and attention. We have the recruiting side of our business and the staffing side. So all day, every day, we are talking to potential candidates across the country. And so often, my first question is always, tell me why you're looking for a new opportunity. Why are you leaving your existing employment? And they'll say to me, there's no opportunity for growth, or I'm looking for more opportunity, which I can tell you 100% say that. And I said, great. Tell me what opportunity means to you. Tell me what growth means to you. And when I really peel away the layers of the onion, what I find out is they're not getting time and attention. And that's what human beings want. So I think the difference between being a boss is, here's your job description, show up, do your job, and you don't have a tremendous amount of communication. You're not talking about what's working, what's not working, and you're not sharing your vision and what you're up to. And sometimes the vision, mission, those terms are overused, but I see what leadership is vulnerability first and foremost, where you're willing to sit down and share what's not working, where you're jammed up, where you need help, where you need support, well, in all facets, especially in regards to revenue and calendar and workflow, et cetera, and giving your team consistent time and attention. So I have my attorneys' biggest change that they make in regards to making that shift from a boss to a leader is having a dedicated weekly meeting with their entire staff. And so often they'll fight me on that and they'll say, we don't have time for that. We have client meetings. We have a ton of work to get done. And I say, it's a greatest investment. Trust me, try it for 30 days and the complete culture, as well as the calendar, the cash flow, everything transforms within 30 days. Because once you start sharing what you're up to, what your mission is, employees so often they'll say, oh, great, you just got hired by a client for $5,000 or what have you. And they have this story in their head. I'm only making X amount of dollars an hour and you're taking all this money and you're pocketing it. But once you start opening up the walls of the business, so to speak, and sharing, what your monthly revenue goals are, what your overhead is, what type of, how much work, what your KPIs are, all the work that goes into for that $5,000 fees. It is transformative. The employee, like overnight, shifts from that employee mindset to really a leader mindset where they will protect and defend your time and your calendar and protect you from the clients. It's just magic.
Oh my gosh, I can relate to you on so many levels. So I have to tell you this story. I used to work, so I've been in the accounting industry for over 10 years now. And I started in-house and was taken in by a firm, a tax and accounting firm, and I had made partner. And I did that. I did that exact same thing because I'm a lot about self-growth. I read a lot of books, and I understood this notion of servant leadership. And bringing the team together and getting everybody on the page. And it's not all about, billable hours. Tax and accounting firms are so similar to law firms in some aspects, technically, which is why I can relate very well. And I started doing that. We started having weekly team meetings. I think we had actually 2 a week. And everybody would meet in the front office and we would go over what was going on. And we would even have a little chit chat. Like we would just hang out for the first 5 to 10 minutes and catch up on the weekend and see how everybody's doing. And it really infused the team and it made the bigger mission more clear. And everybody knew that no matter what role they played, it contributed to a mission and a purpose that was greater than us, that was about the clients, and that we had set out to do. And so it brought everybody together and it absolutely worked. And I love how you use the word vulnerability. So I think that as a business owner, so often we have this mindset of I have to be solid and I have to be this rock and, I can't show weakness and that's what people will respect. But I think it's just the opposite. And when, because we make mistakes, we're business owners. Sometimes we get so bombarded and overloaded that we kind of vent out, and we're short with employees and maybe a little bit rude. I've done it, and when I do that, instead of justifying my actions or instead of justifying our actions, going to those people and saying, you know what, I was short with you the other day. It is not you. I apologize, and addressing your flaws and your weaknesses. And I've heard that before too. And I tell some of our clients that too, that, share your goals with your team, right? Even money goals. And they're like, what? You want me to tell my team how much money we're going for here? Because they're going to reverse engineer my numbers. And then, you know what I mean? Yes. But there was a study done a long time ago that I came across, and it was a study that surveyed employees to try to figure out what motivated them. And I think by default, we have this mindset of if I pay them more, it's all about the money, right? If I pay them more, then they'll be happier. And money was one of the smallest factors in employee happiness.
Absolutely. And I hear that all the time. It's taking that responsibility. So when you think that you need to show up tough and strong and not, never let them see a sweat, so to speak, it's coming out in some fashion. So your frustration or your blow ups at the printer or whatever it might be, it's coming out. And what happens is typically we don't take that responsibility. We don't come back and say, you know what, I was short, stress was high, etc. There's a way to diffuse it. To your point, I have them teams do when they're not used to speaking, doing daily huddles at the end of the day if they need to. I have them start with their personal and professional wins and a thank you. To your point, where you're connecting and having a coffee clutch in the beginning, because you learn so much about people, of what they're going through, either from the highs, the lows, what have you. So when you're able to be vulnerable, number one, and then take responsibility, that's one of the biggest transformations in leadership. When you have a freak out and a blow up, and it's going to happen, it happens on all sides. And then you come back and you take responsibility for it, not justify it, not defend it, but you just say, there's many reasons why I just had a blow up, but I'm apologize. And my intentions were well, but the delivery, not so great. So let's figure out a way how we can triage this and try to diffuse it the next time. Your employees, and I just wrote a blog, it posted yesterday, that it's not about the money. To your point, it's when they get acknowledgement, they get time, they get praise, they know how incredibly busy you are. So when you're willing to give your team, especially if you're doing billable hour work, and you're willing to give your team some dedicated time, your undivided time, that's greater than a bonus any day of the week.
Yes, absolutely. And I think, a lot of the struggle is, and what I experience with attorneys is that it's, again, similar to tax professionals. You go to school and you study this craft and this very specific thing. And so your mind is wrapped around this craft. And for those who choose to hang their own shingle, you're signing up for so much more than just practicing law, right? And managing people is a skill and it is a craft in itself. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's why I think what you're doing is so important. And, giving people the tools to be able to do that. And so you have some tools that you can share with our audience that they can reference to kind of get an understanding. If you're not sure, you've never heard the term, servanthood, servant leadership, or empowering your employees and even wanting them to become leaders in their own right within your firm. What are some tools that you can share that you have out there that people can use?
Yes, we have on our website, hiringandempowering.com, we have a few books out there. The first one that we wrote is Don't Be a Yes Chick, and it's about how to stop babysitting your babysitting your boss and without losing your sanity and your spirit in the process. And it's really about role reversal, so to speak. Your entrepreneur is so busy trying to make it rain, generating revenue in the conference room, meeting with clients, and they really want somebody to have their back and to be able to manage the office, manage a calendar, protect their time, protect their confidence. And so often we'd hear from employees, I feel like a professional babysitter. I feel like a professional babysitter. And we're like, you are. And it's an absolute honor to serve in that role. And once they could have that 2mm mindset shift, they're like, wow. I'm like, in essence, just shift your mind to being like a CEO. That's the definition of a CEO. They're a professional babysitter. And so once our whole book will walk the entrepreneur as well as the employee on how to, a step-by-step process of how to begin implementing some of these best practice approaches and start treating your law firm like a business versus law firm, and really running it that way with key performance indicators, with accountability, with tracking and measurement, with project management, with, I always tell people, so go the calendar, so go the rest of your business. It's either feast or famine, or it's running like a well-oiled machine. And how to remove the attorney from that and allow them to be what they are so wonderful at, which is being problem solvers, and then allowing the team to really step up and lead in regards to the administration and the client service. Because So often attorneys aren't taught how to run a business. They're not taught how to manage an employee or build a business or marketing or any of those things in law school. And so when you surround yourself with people and you hire properly the right people for the role, then typically when I hear that business would be great, but for the employees, I can't find good people, blah, blah, blah. That's not my experience. It's just that you don't really have a methodical hiring process. And the biggest thing that I hear from employees is the entrepreneur won't let go of control. And they're not giving their employees permission to step up and lead. They're not giving them permission. They're giving them all the responsibility to do it, but zero authority and zero permission to do it. And there is a massive distinction between them.
Yes. Have you ever heard of the book, The E-Myth?
Yes. Oh, yes, absolutely.
So that's exactly what you're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the E-Myth, for those of you who are not familiar with it, talks about the 3 phases of being in business for yourself. The first being the mechanic, the second being the manager, and the third being entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And it talks about how so many people get stuck in this mechanic role, which is you are the doer of the work. And they never get to this role of management where they can delegate and empower other people to take over some of that responsibility. And I think that's a huge step. And I encounter that a lot, with the work that I do too. They just, I think like you said, we're all human. This is kind of human nature. And it's something that we have to be willing to step out of our box on. And I was just having a conversation with someone the other day. We were talking about being entrepreneurs and we took the leap. We say the leap like it only happened once, right? If you're going to be successful, you have to not only take the leap and another leap and leap again. But, if you get to this place where you're, really fortunate to anticipate the leap, look for the leap and evaluate, which leaps you need to take. And so I think that's definitely one of them that holds a lot of people back, is getting out of that mindset of, I'm the only one that can do it right. I'm the only one that can do it right. And being able to delegate and entrust other people and empower other people to carry these things out. I was watching Hotel Rescue. I love those shows, like The Prophet and Hotel Rescue and Restaurant Bar Rescue. And the Hotel Rescue guy said specifically, he said, I hire people that are better than me and surround myself with people that are better than me because of that.
And I love that analogy of the leap. In my mind, I'm thinking of leapfrog, so to speak, where it's constant. You're leaping daily, if not, weekly. You're constantly taking that leap. And I think so often that entrepreneurs, especially when you're starting out and you're a solo, small entrepreneur, you have this evidence that I've tried that and that didn't work. So not doing that again. And I hear that all the time. And I always tell them, well, consider the possibility that you made that decision. And when you tried that, you didn't have the awareness that you have now. You don't have skills like coaching or the things that are available now, the E-Myth, what have you. When you made that decision, you were making it from a place of pain and unconsciousness. And now that you're working with me, working with you, working with other people, and you have some guidance and you have some tried, tested, proven methodologies, just consider the possibility that the way that you did it before was just very from a place of pain, is what I always say. So often I think that I leaped before and it didn't work, so I'm not leaping again. And
backing off the cliff.
Yeah.
Yes,
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yes. So you brought up that you, in your book, that you were talking about, that you help people identify and track KPIs. Can you share some of those with us, like specific KPIs that once you have the correct data and tracking tools that people can keep an eye on for stuff like this?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I believe that every position should have key performance indicators, and it doesn't have to be, 10 million different spreadsheets and graphs and very difficult. But when I talk about key performance indicators, I think the biggest one that people miss and the first role that they should be hiring is a client services director, your front stage. People so often will say, oh, I just need a receptionist. Like, that's your sales force. That's a person that's answering your phone. And if they're not doing a great job, then your job's irrelevant because you have no one to meet with because they upset someone or they didn't didn't follow through or they didn't schedule them properly or what have you. So the key performance indicators that I always start with is very much from the front of the house, of just making certain what your conversion rates are from your phone calls. I am so amazed at how many entrepreneurs do not track that. They'll track everything from the workflow, and to your point from the E-Myth being the technician, they'll look at the average case value, they'll look at the life cycle of a file, they'll spend all their time looking at all that right down to the penny, which is beautiful and necessary, but they don't do it from the front of the house, from the receptionist or the front desk person, which is when you're in the personal service industry, that's where you need to start, in my personal opinion, is looking at, so often receptionists or client services will tell me, and vice versa, the entrepreneur will tell me, well, I don't know how to track the person on the phone. And that's the easiest one to track, first and foremost, and really where you should start, of looking at how many phone calls come in a day, and what was the average value, how long was the phone call, where did they come from, and what was the conversion rate, because it'll tell you if you're not having enough phone calls, which most attorneys hide out from this fact. I think quite often subconsciously they don't want to know that because they don't want to know their phone's ringing. So often they'll say, we're so busy, our phone's ringing off the hook, everyone's overwhelmed, our calendar is jam-packed. And then I'm like, well, wait a minute, you don't have any money. How is this possible? And then when I start running the reports and looking at it, I'm like, this is delusional. These are all existing clients, or these are old clients that have already paid you, and you don't have any healthy boundaries or standards or systems in place. So you're just giving them all this time that you're not getting paid for. So you're really not that busy. You just have a lack of process and standards. So when I start having them, and I always tell them, the good news is to look at an empty report, because after 3 weeks of looking at an empty report where you have no clients coming in, you have no brand new cash flow coming in, you don't have any pipeline of prospective clients, you're going to get good and frustrated and do something about it.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, I love all the things that you just said. We can really relate, because I feel like you're kind of like a slice the onion instead of peel the onion sometimes when necessary.
Yeah, I like that.
So I love how direct you are. And I can agree with you again on that KPI of tracking conversion rates. And it's something that, we encourage as well, because we're numbers people, right? We can't forecast into the future if we don't have your conversion rates.
Yeah.
So even with, knowing who's calling in, how the process went, or if it didn't happen at all, are things, if you're not collecting that data, you can't use it. And so that's a multifunctional database, right? Like, not only for, is my frontline customer service professional effective, but also, how many of those are becoming converted, and where did they hear about us from in terms of a marketing standpoint? That's one of the line items on our financial reports that we break out in a lot of detail, because we want to know where the marketing dollars are going and what that ROI is. So, my point being that data is multifunctional. And so maybe if people see it from that perspective, they're a little bit more motivated to collect it and pay attention to it.
Mm-hmm. And it's so funny, because I'll have attorneys call me all day, every day, and they'll want to complain about their employees. And sometimes it's valid. Sometimes I feel like it's hiding out, so to speak. So I'll get the same phone call from the same type of people every single week saying, I can't get him or her to do this, or they came in late again, or blah, blah, blah. And I'll shift it and I'll say, let's talk about your metrics. Let's talk about your reporting. And so often I think that people use that to hide out, to really shine the flashlight of where they're not doing the marketing, where they're not running it like a business, and they get so stuck in the weeds. And I don't love this term. It's overused, but in the drama, it's sometimes they just get so, and they say, well, if I can't trust my people, I can't go out and market because I'm afraid we can't deliver on the promise on the marketplace. And I'm like, well, consider the possibility that there's so much drama because, idle hands are the work of the devil. Get busy and people will get intentional and they'll get focused. Just trust me on that.
Yes, I agree. So I want to share some books that I have come across that go really hand in hand with what you guys are doing. And I know some of our audience, they are total readers. Like, they will go buy the book as soon as we mention it. So I want to mention these. Powerful by Patty McCord. This lady was, I believe, the HR director of Netflix for a number of years. And what I loved about this book, what I took from this book, is Netflix has their employee environment, from their hiring process, they have this mindset of it has to be the right fit. So a lot of books, all three of them, two of them that I'm going to share, talk about not only getting the right people on the bus, right, hiring the right people, but making sure that those people are in the right seats on your bus, because you can have someone who is super skilled, but they're in the wrong seat, and so they're not performing very well, and so that just needs to be adjusted. Netflix, in this book, they encourage healthy debates. They even have a stage. They put people up on a pedestal in two chairs, in real life, and they will have them debate back and forth and argue their point, and everybody will watch and listen so that we can get a consensus on what everybody thinks. I mean, it is such a healthy way to encourage your team to speak out. And, I really believe that some of the biggest golden nuggets that you can discover in your business can be found from your team, because they're doing things and seeing things, if you're delegating properly, that you're not seeing and doing. And if you don't request feedback and have an open door policy, you're never going to know. I mean, they're the biggest source of improvement. Like the people I work with in my business, they're the biggest source of improvement sometimes for me. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I really love about this, is it's so different. It's so innovative, the way that they build their teams. John C. Maxwell's The Leadership Handbook, 26 Critical Lessons Every Leader Needs. I mean, it's John C. Maxwell, enough said, right?
Yes.
The guru. And then Good to Great by Jim Collins. This is one of my favorite books. So I go science on lawyers all the time, because they're like very factual, and I love science. I love studying the brain and how it works and habits and stuff like that. This book struck me because Jim Collins and his team set up a scientific study environment of publicly traded businesses, publicly traded being the baseline, right? The comparable there. And in the beginning of their study, their goal was, I want to know why companies like Walmart, GE, Johnson & Johnson have stood the test of time. Through different leadership, through different generations, they are still here doing well. And they said at the beginning of the study, we are going to disinclude leadership. We are not going to consider leadership, because we don't want our study to be biased on the person. We want to focus on the business. And as soon as they got into the study, they quickly realized that they cannot omit leadership from the equation. And so I love this book because of that, because it was something that, again, a lot of people kind of disregard the whole leadership role and the importance that it plays, and knowing how to be a leader. And this scientific study of research couldn't deny it. And so that's why I absolutely love that book.
It's one of the first books that I ever read. And, it's funny that you say, I love how direct you are. You're like slicing the onion versus peeling it. 25 years ago, when I stepped into this industry, that was not me. I was a yes chick, and that was where the name of the book came from, was that I would just say yes to whatever my boss had, and I had a very entrepreneurial boss, and I would just say yes to whatever he had recommended and just be a really good employee. After I read that book, the greatest thing I took out of that book is the health of every organization is the ability to have the fist pounding conversations, and not from a place of brutal. I don't love that terminology, brutal honesty. We always talk about honest, well, respectful conversations. It really came out of after reading that book. But so often employees will suffer in silence. And to your point, they're on the front lines. They have the greatest insight into your business over anybody else, from the receptionist to an associate to your marketing people, what have you. And I would add another book that I read right after that, which was Crucial Conversations, which gave me the platform and kind of the structure to have those honest, while respectful conversations, because I believe that the ability for creating the environment for your team to speak up and to really give you honest, while respectful feedback and pushback, and to have those crucial conversations and to have those fist pounding conversations in a contained area, in a weekly team meeting, in a board of directors meeting, and be able to kind of debate, to use your point with the Netflix book, is that, crucial conversations, if you have, your team has something to say, but they're not speaking up, or you're constantly getting yes everywhere that you turn, that people are holding back. So I would highly recommend adding that book to the list as well, to piggyback on Good to Great.
Yes, thank you. And what was the name of that one again?
Crucial Conversations.
Awesome. I'll put all of these in the notes so that
Great.
Everybody has access to them. Okay, so let's shift the conversation a little bit. Let's get specific, because this is something you guys really help people with, about knowing when to hire.
Yeah. So I have a real simple exercise when people call me and say, I'm not sure if we need to hire. I start with number one, what's your happiness metric? Where are you at in regards to, are you on a scale of 0 to 10? Are you ready to blow up? Where are you on burnout? Where are you on frustration? Where are you on feeling like you're dropping the balls? And 9 out of 10 times, people are definitely on the north side of a 6 or 7. So when it's time to hire, and I know that you have an amazing tool around the financials of it, but from a time perspective, because the 2 greatest resources you have are time and money, I always tell people, do this. I want you to track your time for an entire week of everything that you're doing. So even if you have existing employees, you're not sure if you should add another associate, another paralegal, somebody on the marketing team, have everybody do this. I have them write down, and I'll give this to your listeners as a gift too. Write down everything that you touch. Just put Monday on the top and just put everything that you touch. And then at the end, I want you to circle the things that only you can do. And then I want you to scan your documents and send them to me. And let's hop on a 30-minute call, and I'm going to go through it, and I'm going to tell you exactly who you need to hire, and have everyone in the firm do the same exercise. Don't make a project out of it. You're going about your day. Just do your best. I don't need time tracking, time stamping, and anything of that nature. And that simple exercise will tell you exactly, not only is it time to hire, because it'll tell me where people are inefficient with their time. I'll see that, line 1, they'll write check email. Then line 2, they're drafting a document. Then I see that they get interrupted by a phone call. And I could tell where they don't have a circle of focus and they're not managing their time. And is it just that there's inefficiencies and ineffectiveness, or is it really a bandwidth and a capacity standpoint, and it is time to hire? And so that's just a very simple exercise just from the time perspective, which I think so often that people don't, and time is money. And I think they really negate spending the time to really do an analysis on where they are spending their time and how intentional they are and how focused they are.
Yes. And we agree there too. I do CLEs and presentation at legal events now. And all of, a lot of our tools, because a lot of times people they forget about that whole time thing. They're so focused on money. What's $1 million if you don't have a minute to spend it? Do you know what I mean? And so, we're very conscious about incorporating the time component with money too. And I love, love, love your exercise. I feel everybody should do it like at least once a year just to stay on top of it. It is so eye-opening. And I heard Tony Robbins do a method that you kind of just explained too, where he says, get everything out that you do, get a Post-it notepad and write down one task on each Post-it note, and then group them into functions, right? So that you can start organizing your tasks and, work on your task management. So I love your perspective in terms of even, are you checking your email and then switching gears completely and then switching gears completely? And, interruptions is another big one too, right? Yeah. And so like when I had my big team in person, we had kind of, if it's this level of thing, email me, and I only check my email during certain times of the day, right? So we have designated times to kind of avoid that interruption. And so I think that's really important for people to realize too. I'm going to share on my screen here our tool that Molly was referring to that is my favorite. I think this is,
love this.
Just so helpful. So are you able to see
Yeah.
this here, Molly?
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
Okay. So this is a free downloadable tool on our website. It's called the Profitability Per Practice Area. This tool has so many functions. We have helped develop flat rate fee models. We have, this exposes your margins per practice area. So what we do here is we break down the buckets of matter types that a law firm has. And so you can see here, and I'll kind of blow this up, so hopefully it's a little easier to
Yep.
see yet. For example, practice area number 1. What we do is we find either the average fee per case, or if you have a flat fee, we punch it in here. Now, here is where the team comes into play, right? So this is kind of like when to hire from the money side of things. And I think your exercise would be a fantastic exercise to do before the data is transposed to this tool, because it has to be accurate and efficiency comes first, right? And I think there's a statistic out there, correct me if I'm wrong or let me know what you've heard, Molly, that law firms are, I want to say, somewhere around 40% overstaffed on average.
Yep.
Because of things like this, right? So
yes.
I mean, look at the savings that, even if money motivates you, look at the savings to be had if, people do these exercises. So, but what this spreadsheet does is we have each member on your team that touches a certain type of matter, down to the receptionist, down to answering the phone, right? So it's not just about actually working on the case, it's the customer service side too. We want to know how much time you spend, not actually on the matter, but serving the client, answering questions, doing stuff like that. And then into direct expense considerations so that we can break down the profitability, look at the total hours, right? So here's total staff hours invested. So then we turn this, once we have our numbers down, we can turn this into a forecasting tool. And this is kind of where those marketing metrics come in, right? Because one of these direct expenses here could be client meeting expense. If you take clients out for meals, a lot of times when we get that far, we'll add in marketing. If we have those conversion rates where we say for every $500 you spend, you bring in, 5 of these cases. So we allocate $100 to here. And then all the way through, and we can use it as a forecasting mechanism because this reverse engineers your revenue formula, right? So we can punch in play numbers here and say, well, if you increase your volume by so many matter types, this is how many hours in addition each team member is going to spend on this new, revenue volume.
It's fantastic. And what I love about it is when you break this down and you see it where you're either overstaffed, understaffed, where you're spending too much time in document acquisition or what have you. You can't unhear this. You can't unknow this. And it just shines a flashlight on accountability for you making the next right move, the next bold move that you need to do. And so often attorneys will fight me on this from a place of fear of either having to throw down money for hiring or throw down money for marketing or whatever it might be, or having to let someone go and reshift roles and things of that nature. And what I love about this is that it really takes out all the drama and all the feelings and the emotionality. It's no longer an emotional decision. It's a business decision. And this tool is so revolutionary because the numbers don't lie. You can't fight with it.
That's why I love them. In my presentations, I'll say, don't shoot the messenger, right? I'm like the numbers whisperer. I'm just bringing them to you and telling you what they're saying, which is why I love them. And they're so powerful. And you're right. It can create this aha moment that once you get it, once you see it, you can't undo it. And it's going to eat at you. And it's 2020. There's technology for almost everything.
Yes.
I mean, AI has found its way into the legal industry. And, a lot of people are intimidated by AI in a sense that they don't want it to replace themselves, right? But nothing can replace, like you said, the most important part of your business is that frontline customer service professional. And nothing can replace that human to human experience. So utilizing technology to optimize efficiency, is something that I think everybody should be looking at on a constant basis because it's moving so fast. And with information like this, you can see where technology kind of can fit into the picture to, increase margins, increase efficiency, and things like that.
And I always tell people like AI and technology are a complement. You have to look at it from a different perspective, that it's not about replacing a human or cheapening your client experience or service, but it actually gives you the power of the pause. It gives you the breathing room to actually be present with your client when you're with them, to actually slow down. And it's not replacing anybody by any means. It's giving people the undivided attention and the breathing space that they need to be able to up level whatever else they're working on, or get to other projects that do need the client experience that you're unable to get to because you're so in the trenches in the technician roles. You're so in the trenches of doing things the old school way and reinventing the wheel every single day. And I love this spreadsheet because where can we automate in a way that allows us to over deliver from the client experience and to enhance that value proposition and outbeat our competition. That, I always tell people the phone will make you rich. And so many people are afraid of the phone. So if I'm able to free up my client service coordinator or my marketing initiative for 10%, 15% with automation and or technology, you want to look at it of, okay, how can I free them up from the technology side and the computer side of it so they can be front facing in building relationships more? And you will always, always win with that model.
Yes, absolutely. All right. I think we're about on our time. This has been so amazing. Like I love this conversation. If people want to get in touch with you, Molly, how can they do that? And we'll also list that out in the notes too.
Sure. You can go to hiringandempowering.com. And a gift I'd like to give you all is a downloadable book that talks about a lot of the principles that we talked about today. Entrepreneurs and Entrepreneurs World, how to get your employees to step up and lead and really get into this leadership mentality, and how for you to have the conversations with them up front and to enroll them and embolden them and empower them into really what's in it for them, what's in it for you, and what's in it for the client, and really speaking into those opportunities for growth and for expansion in your business.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really hate to cut us off. I feel like we could go on here.
I know.
I want to be respectful of your time. So we might just have to have you back, but I really appreciate you coming on here and speaking on this. I really hope that people take this to heart because it is so much of a bigger piece of business, I think, than a lot of people realize. I think it's very underestimated and it's so powerful. So I so appreciate you coming on today, Molly. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for having me. It was so much fun.
Awesome. All right, guys, there you have it. Until next time, Legalpreneur on.